what's up YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video game review. And for this review, we'll be taking a look at Octopath Traveler for the Nintendo Switch. And if you're interested in, excuse me, some gameplay footage, I'll have a link in the description below, along with if you want to see a video of me unboxing, I think what's called the Wayfield edition or collector's edition, if it's a much easier way you want to look at it. So if you want to see that as well, I'll have a link to in the description below is that for my unboxing video of the Wayfield edition. Octopath Traveler is sort of an interesting game. When it was originally showed off at Nintendo's Switch presentation back in January of 2017, and was one of the games showed off that was the upcoming to the Nintendo Switch, unlike Steep, which Ubisoft canceled and never even bothered telling anybody about that one. And since then, that game has sort of garnished a bit of attention, especially after Square Enix released, like, I think a demo or two of the game for people to try out as well. Well, after numerous demos, after a numerous wait, we finally got the game over. Got the game finally released onto the Nintendo Switch, and while it's far from perfect, I will say I could definitely see this game being kind of the Game of the Year contender, because it's something unique and interesting in so many ways about this game, Octopath Traveler to be exact. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons, and we'll start off with the first one, the pros, and that is the graphics. This is visually a good looking game though. I love the 2.5D or 2D HD as some calling it. I like how they mix sort of like the old school, 16-bit art style with sort of a 3D background in a way. And it amazes me that this game is running on the Unreal Engine 4 to be exact. And what's interesting is that a game like this shows that video games can be an art form. While not all games will fall into that category, there are games that show a unique art style and so forth. And I feel that Octopath Traveler is definitely one of those games. So visually speaking, it looks really good. The next thing I want to talk about is the combat though. And now for those who are not familiar, this game follows a turn-based combat approach, very much similar to that old school RPG feel, but there are a couple of things that they added to it. One thing you'll notice is that at the bottom of each enemy there are, looks like question blocks to be exact. Some enemies may have 2, some enemies may have 4, some may have more. And basically what those are basically you have to discover the enemy's weakness though, and sometimes it kind of turns into a bit of a guessing game. For example, one of my characters, I think Ubediah, if I'm saying his name correctly, when I first encountered one enemy, I attacked it with the sword, and while that did damage, that didn't really do anything, at least for the question box down below. But when I attacked that same enemy with a spear, it unlocked one of those question blocks and it did a whole lot of damage as well. So it kind of becomes a guessing game, and you want to try to find out that enemy's weakness because right next to it is a shield, and every time you hit the enemy with the right weapon or spells, that shield number goes down, and when it reaches 0, it paralyzes that enemy for a bit, giving you an opening to either, go in for multiple attacks, to basically using this opportunity to sort of heal your party or your character and so forth. So it adds a little bit of a interesting gameplay mechanics as well. So the combat system is fun, it has a bit of a twist to it, and I really like that approach. And last but not least, I do want to say, as far as the story goes, it's very interesting though. I like hearing each of the characters, or at least the characters I've unlocked so far, each have their own interesting story, also interesting style and approach. So, I mean, like I said, the warrior, one of those, is out to avenge someone that was killed during a war. There's a dancer who's out to, of course, avenge her father in a way. One who's traveling around the world to become like the best merchant. one trying to be the best alchemist as well, one uncovering the secrets of an ancient civilization. So I love each of the individual stories, and they are very interesting to hear and so forth. So each of the individual stories I really like and enjoy. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 2, the cons. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our my video review of Octopath Traveler for the Nintendo Switch. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And we'll start with the first con. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in the part 1, the pro, I talked about the individual stories and how I enjoyed them and so forth. And they are good. I still think the stories are interesting. The problem, however, is the fact that none of the stories feel sort of connected, or at least based on my time with it, though. I mean, there'll be some interactions with the characters, but I didn't feel like there was a connection between each of the characters, though. Maybe I have to get a little bit further into the game to figure it, and there might be more, but as of right now, the individual stories don't feel as connected as I thought it was going to be. The next con, and this one I think is the big one though, and that is switching out your party members though. Now the only way you could do that is if you go into a tavern in any town that you visit. You could switch out party members, which can be a bit annoying at times. There are times when you go into battle and you have to basically use the characters that are available at the moment. Like for example, if you go into battle and you switch another character out, when you go into let me start that over. When you go into the tavern and you select your 4 characters, you can only bring 4. And then when you leave town, you go into battle. And let's say, for example, there's an enemy there that one of the weaknesses is the bow and arrow. Unfortunately, you don't have a character with a bow and arrow. So either you have to defeat that enemy in battle or flee, or you're going to have to go all the way back to the tavern, to the nearest towns, and switch out your characters. It's a little bit annoying, however. It is a little bit annoying, and I wish that you didn't have to switch out party members at a tavern in the game. Or I would have liked if they took the approach, say, what they did in Final Fantasy X, where during combat you can switch out party members at any time. So I mean, I understand they want to make it old school and all that stuff. I really wish that was like one area they could have maybe adjust as well. So switching out of party members can be a bit of a pain, at least from my perspective it is. And last but certainly not least though, and again this is based on preference, and for me, I'm not really a big fan of random battles in RPGs in general. I'm not saying that's terrible. I'm not saying I hate random battles. I just prefer the kind of approach where you actually see the enemies on the screen. You know, very similar to how Super Mario RPG Legends of the Seven Stars did that, or other RPGs have done that before as well. So again, this is based off of preference. I don't hate random battles. I'm just not a big fan of it in general. Overall, Octopath Traveler is definitely a fun game. It's certainly a gem on the Nintendo Switch. Its old school combat is still fun with some new twists to it, and the visuals are really good. Even though it gives out that 16 and 8-bit look to it, it has a unique art style going to it, and it's pretty amazing, and it's certainly a game I think you should have in your Nintendo Switch library. What's even more amazing is that this game is selling very well and certainly has got a lot of attention. I'm glad it's getting the attention it deserves. Hopefully it sells well enough, although there are reports saying it is certainly selling well, but hopefully it sells well enough that, who knows, maybe Square Enix will do a Octopath Traveler 2, or maybe bring back the Bravely Default series. There are some rumors going around about that, to even continue with more support for the Nintendo Switch down the road. What kind of support remains to be seen, but overall, I am definitely having fun with Octopath Traveler. I think it is a game that you should have in your Switch library, even if you're not a fan of turn-based RPGs. I'm a little bit more a fan of action RPGs. It is still a fun game, and it's definitely a recommendation for me. It has some issues, at least the ones I point out in the cons, but overall it didn't ruin my enjoyment to it. So for me, I think Octopath Traveler is definitely worth a pickup. Okay, this concludes this video review of Octopath Traveler for the Nintendo Switch. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Octopath Traveler? Have you picked up the game yet? Are you planning to get it? Or are you planning to skip it? Have you enjoyed the game as much as I did? Have you not enjoyed the game as much? Do you like the art style? Do you think the combat is good? Do you glad they went with an old school approach, or you don't really think they should have gone with the old school approach? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Are there things you liked about the game? Are there things you hate about the game? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to. And feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon if you want to. Links are in the description. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then.